In this video, we're going to look at the Dreamweaver interface and some common HTML tags. First, let's take a look at this opening dialog box. You can see here that I have 3 columns. Here, Dreamweaver will list a number of recently opened items that I've worked on. In this column here, Dreamweaver lists and makes it really easy for you to create common files and documents. Over here, there's some top featured videos, and Adobe has always been very good at creating help files and also creating some interesting videos. It talks a little bit about, for example, this one, what's new in Dreamweaver. And Dreamweaver Creative Cloud has changed dramatically with some really interesting new features that make working in the software all that much easier. Let's first get started by opening the file that we've created. So I want you to go over here to open a recent item and click on the Open folder. You can also open an item by going up here to File, Open. Now it works the same way. Let's just go ahead and click Open. And I'm going to go ahead to the folder that I created for this website, and I'm going to go to the Chantal web page document. Let's first begin by setting our interface so that they're exactly the same. Up here on the right-hand side, you'll notice when you click on the drop-down menu here that there are only 2 different views, compact and expanded. And you can reset the compact. Resetting the compact will make your interface and my interface look exactly the same. This whole area here and your panels can be personalized just like in every other Adobe program. I really like the compact view. In fact, the compact view makes it very easy because the 3 main tabs that I use, Insert, Files, and CSS Design, are all right here. In fact, I really like to click and drag this tab, CSS Designer, and move it right up here. And if you hover until it turns blue, you'll notice how it nests right in with the others. You can do the same thing with CSS Transitions. Click, drag, and drop it until you see all 4 nested within each other there. Let's take a look at the Dreamweaver interface here. You can see here that I can either go with a code view, which allows me to see the HTML. I can then go to the design view, which allows me to see the output for my HTML. Or I can use the split view. Many designers use this view because it allows you to not only simultaneously see the code, but you can actually make edits on this side or on this side. Many people, when they're first beginning, think that they want to go exclusively to design view, but you're really shortchanging yourself because you can accidentally make changes here that affect the HTML in a way that you don't mean to. And so it's a great way to work with both sides open at the same time. There's also another view here that's live. When you click Live, it allows you to sample the design view as if it was going to be published in a browser. When you want to return, you just need to click back on the Live view and it'll take you back to the Split Design and Code view. Down here at the bottom of the screen, you'll notice that I have body and paragraph. I have those tags because that's where my cursor is. In fact, if I move my cursor here within heading 1, you'll notice that on the left side of my screen, in my code view, I can see that it's taken me to line 8, and it's highlighted line 8 and put the cursor here exactly where it is here. This makes working in HTML much easier because Dreamweaver knows that it's going to be really hard to find code for content on this side. Even harder still when you get to complicated designs on your website. Here's another great thing here is in the tag editor. The tag editor allows you to highlight the entire content including the tags. So if I go ahead here and click on H1, it's going to highlight the content on the right-hand side of my screen, and it's going to highlight the content as well as the tags on my code screen. So this is another great way to be able to work. You'll notice that after H1, just before that, I have the body tag. That's because H1 is wrapped within the body. So watch what happens when I click on the body tag. Now, all the content for the body is highlighted on both sides. Down here in the Properties panel, this allows me to work from HTML or CSS perspective. Now we'll talk about CSS further in the upcoming classes, but HTML is where you want to work now, but you can flip from one view to the other. Now let's make some quick changes to our code, and let's add some new HTML tags to find out how they can make our appearance of our document look a little bit different. First and foremost, I want to take a look at this line here. Once again, I can see it's highlighted, and I can see where I'm at. Another great way, once again, is to go down to your tag editor and click on the last item. Now, I know that this is a paragraph. What I'd like to do is I'd like to change this from a paragraph to a header 4, just to see what it looks like. I have a header 1 and a header 2. I'm going to go over here And I'm just going to change this to a header 4. I have to remember to close my header 4. So that closed, that forward slash, and then header 4. Whenever I make a change over here on the code side, down here at the bottom of my screen in my properties panel, I will have a refresh button. You can also press F5. Now you can see how my H4 changed here. Let's take a look at something else. How does it look if I take this H4 and center it? Here I can see I've highlighted it. It's made it easy to find on this side. And over here at the beginning, just after H4, I'm going to go ahead and give an instruction to align this text in center format. So I'm going to go ahead and open in triangular parentheses, and you can see here that Dreamweaver provides you with a drop-down menu immediately with a whole bunch of possibilities. And as soon as I start creating text, it's going to start listing some possibilities. And then I'm going to type in a line. And you can see how it's already done that. It's already included a line. And I can just hit enter, and it's going to finish typing it. At this point, P for paragraph, a line, equals, and then in quotation marks, I can choose between center, justify, left, or right. Let's see what it looks like with just center. I'm just going to hit enter because it's the one that's highlighted, and there it is. Now I have to close that tag. All right, so I have P, align, equals, and in quotation marks, center. Now I have to tell it to close that, because if I don't, the rest of my document will be centered. So now at the end of this paragraph, I just look to see where the end of the paragraph is. Just before the close of H4, I'm going to enter and create a new opening with a new triangular bracket. And I'm closing, so it's a forward slash. And as soon as I hit the forward slash, Dreamweaver is going to make it easy for me and complete the content. Now, I can see here that I've got a close P because it knows that this paragraph needs to be closed. Let's take a look when I click refresh how that looks. Let's try an indentation tag. Let's say I wanted to create a quote. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to put quotation marks, and I'm going to go ahead and write, I love designing in Dreamweaver. Now you'll notice that my quotation marks over here on line 14, I've got a new paragraph, and then I have the and symbol and QUOT colon. That's because special characters, like the quotation mark, have to be defined in HTML. But Dreamweaver takes the difficulty out of it by converting the content over here in the code view while I'm typing over here in the design view. Now what I'd like to go is I'd like to go one step further. I'd like to indent, and I'd like to create a block quote. So over here, just before paragraph and the and symbol and the QUOT, I'm going to create a new tag. So I'm going to open triangular bracket, and you'll notice once again, I've got my drop-down menu, and I'm going to start typing in block quote. So BLO, and you'll notice here, Dreamweaver's made it easy for me. It's already included the content. So all I need to do is hit enter, and it's going to finish that. All I need to do now is close it. And then if I go to the end of this line, just before the paragraph, just before the closed paragraph rather, I'm going to click another open triangle, the forward slash, and you'll notice that it completed the block quote for me. Now when I go over here to refresh, I have a block quote. Right after here, I'm going to go ahead and put in a carriage return. Something you should know about HTML is that HTML is actually designed to ignore extra carriage returns. It's also designed to ignore extra spaces. So if I go in here and I put a whole bunch of spaces, let's say between I love designing in Dreamweaver, and I put a whole bunch of carriage returns here, and then I go ahead and refresh, it's made absolutely no change. You'll notice that I love big space designing is not something that I'm seeing here. So let's say you wanted to create a great big space in between. How would you do that? Well, you would go in and you would create non-breaking spaces. So to do that, just to experiment a bit, you would use the and symbol. And then once again, Dreamweaver is going to provide you with some quick and easy drop-downs. And here it's going to be an NBSP. And you'll see here that it's come up. And that's because that's non-breaking spaces. When I hit enter, it's going to do that. Now I'm going to do another one. And once again, I'm going to hit enter. Now let's see what it looks like when I click refresh. You'll notice that now suddenly I do have that I love big space designing in Dreamweaver. Now what if I wanted to do a carriage return, all about learning HTML, and I wanted to put a break between each line, all carriage return, about carriage return, learning carriage return, HTML. Let's go ahead and refresh. You'll notice that that didn't change anything. But if I did want all about learning HTML on separate lines, all I would need to do would be to create a break. So I'm going to open tag and do a BR, close tag. I'm going to do the same here. Open, BR, close tag, open, BR, close. And then let's do a refresh. All of a sudden, all of my content is on different lines. Let's go one step further. Now what I would like to do is I want to create a horizontal line. So what I'm going to do here is just before the end of the body, I'm going to put in a couple carriage returns, and we're going to do a little bit of an experiment. We're going to put in a horizontal line, and we're going to do different ones. So the first one I'm going to do is I'm going to open and do HR for horizontal. And then I'm going to define the size of it. So I'm going to go S-I-Z-E. And you'll notice that when I hit enter, it did the equal sign and the quotation marks. Here within the quotation marks, I want to specify the size in points. So I'm going to try one with 3 points. The next thing I'm going to do is define the width. So I'm going to go ahead and now I'm going to type in WI width. You'll notice here that it's specified. Hit enter. And within quotation marks, I want to specify the width, but in the percentage. So let's see what it looks like if I do a 50%. Okay, let's refresh. Now, the refresh has put the horizontal size 3 width 50% here. You'll notice that it has highlighted it and it's not in what I'd like to see. But look what happens over here when I go to the live view. You'll notice that my live view now shows a horizontal line at 50%, meaning that this line is half the width of the span of my document. Let's go off of live view and return to the split view. This time I'm going to put another horizontal line, but I'm going to do it over here. So I'm going to click on HR and I'm going to hit enter. I'm going to type in size and I'm going to do enter again. And within the quotation marks, instead of 3 points, I'm going to try 6 points. And here, next to width, I'm going to type in 100%. Let's click refresh again and see what we've got. Here I've got a rule for horizontal line, and here I've got a horizontal line here. But if I go into the live view, I can see how that looks. And here I can see that I have a line that's 6 points wide, a width of 100%. That it means that it spans the whole document. Now it's time for you to experiment. Customize your first web page, save the document, and then export it into your browser. To do that, click on File, Save As, and here I'm going to save the changes I've made. Same location, Chantal web page, and I'm going to click Save. Would you like to overwrite this file? And say Yes. Now go into your browser and open your file. And again, File, Open, or Control-O. There it is there, and I'm going to say OK. Here is the document. Not the best looking web page, but it is indeed the first web page. I've got my title in my tab. I've got an H1, H2, H4. I've got a block indent here. I've got extra breaking spaces. I've got breaks in between each one of these items, which make them all on different lines. I've got centered text here. I've got a horizontal line here that spans 100%, and I have a horizontal line here that spans 50%. And over here, I have a strong tag. Go ahead and experiment with your own web page, publish it, and do a print screen. Post your print screen to the discussion board, and that is how you can create your first web page.